Thank you, Ceann Comhairle. When I left UCD in 1972, my mind was sort of comfortable with, and I believed in the market system, the capitalist market system, as being a way that would motivate the best production of goods and services in an efficient way, and that government policy and establishment behaviour would try and ensure that there would be fair distribution of the rewards of that production and distribution. The last 5 years, and before that, the previous 5 years, arose suspicions in me that all was not well, that the inequality across the neoliberal capitalist markets was not working fairly or well with the arrival of new technologies based on computerization and ICT. And events have actually, and facts, have shown that that is in fact the case. And it's measurable now. It's measurable by people who have devoted their lifetime's work to studying it, to comparing it across the globe, to recording it, and to being honest about it. And I'm commending to every single person in this House and in the Seanad also, to everybody in the judiciary, everybody in the civil service at senior level, everybody in the professions, law and accountancy. This book that's only just come out in paperback by Joseph Stiglitz, who has visited this country many times, immediately when the crisis struck, pointing out that we had a balance sheet crisis of government balance sheets, bank balance sheets, and household and business balance sheets. This book is an honest book. It's really well researched. And if you don't read it, well, then I think you're doing Ireland and the people of Ireland a great disservice. Minister, thank you for coming here at this point in the debate. You're a member of the EMC. You brought forward a budget there a short while ago, and we're now discussing your Finance Act. I was really put out, and I thought it was insulting of a fellow minister in the dominant country in the Eurozone and in the EU to say, when you were presenting your budget, under a heading in the RTE News, German minister rules out ESM aid for Irish banks. He said, amongst other things, Ireland did what Ireland had to do, and now everything is fine. Well, he just doesn't get it. Because there is, as Colm Keaveney just pointed out there, a divisiveness, a clear divisiveness in our society. There's a clear inequality, and it's measurable. And there's been a big vacuum and a hole and a hiatus that the contribution to the society in which we live and the community in which we live, work, play, are young, work and grow old, has not been contributed to by the corporate sector who are here on a short-term residency. And that is wrong. Minister, on one of the earlier pages of your budget speech, you said Ireland's debt is forecast to reach 124%. Wrong. Ireland's government debt is forecast to reach 124% of GDP. And we know in Ireland that because of the structural nature, the engineering of goods and services production and who owns and controls them, that GDP and GNP, or national income, are quite wide apart and not good proxies for each other. And our government debt to national income is more in the order of 140%. And when you add the household income and the non-financial corporate income, or the SME debt and household debt together with their contracting incomes. And here's the paper, Minister Noonan. Do you remember September 2011? Stephen G. Cecchetti, MS Mohanty, and Fabrizio Zampoli, the real effects of debt, and where Ireland would have stood if it had been included in that paper, and how 2 years and 2 months have gone by, and how we haven't even suggested a figure for debt write-down for our economy. I think it's just an awful shame. What are we afraid of? What are we afraid of? Will Germans pick up the tab for Deutsche Bank too, Bloomberg? You know, your EMC, the Taoiseach told us the other day at Leaders' Questions, met 11 times in the last while. That's good. But what were you discussing? If it's twiddling the knobs on the radio, it won't help us. The sort of meat about what's in this book. Inequality in society. What taxes, you know, the big picture things of who should pay what taxes. As Colin Keaveney said, it is easy to take back from children and elderly people. It's not easy to say to people at the higher ends with the concentration of increasing wealth at an increasing rate, whereas the people, the scooped out middle income and the lower incomes are under pressure. There's where we should be courageous and put the spotlight and explain to those who are well-to-do and earning huge money that they should be thinking about the distribution of it. And by the way, when you try and equalize an unequal economy or society, it actually increases the wealth. That's proven too. This is full of backnote research, proof about these things. Do we want a society here that is the haves, the have-nots, and the gone-aways, including one of my own adult children? No, we don't. Do you remember the figures I suggested at our own parliamentary party meeting, that, you know, a 4% levy, temporary for 3 years, on the incomes of people with 120,000 and over would have produced over 700 million. Corporation tax profit levy of 2.5% would bring in something similar. These corporations and their CEOs and their CFOs, they wouldn't go away. They're not going to relocate their senior managements and their families into countries where there may be, you know, tropical climates that aren't suitable for raising a family that comes from a different climate. Dengue fever, cholera, smallpox, poor water supplies, in unstable situations. Ireland, to them, they won't tell you this, but it's heaven on earth, climatically. They've told me, Minister, they wouldn't blink if they had to pay 2.5% levy for a few years on their corporate profits. They've made 70 billion by the Department of Finance and they paid 4. That's 6.5%. And then people argue, well, it's different. Reported profits and taxable profits are different. If they're reporting the profits, they're the profits that they say they made. Why not pay 10% even of those? They're happy to tell the shareholders in the world that that's the reported profits. It's an awful pity that we don't, as I say, at the EMC, think about these big strategic problems. Sure, there are little things that are good about the budget, and there are things that are very bad about the budget. But we don't want illusions. We don't want language that misleads us and gives us sort of false understandings, false hopes. We don't want short-termism in the budget. If people hear that there's going to be, you know, a steady, long-term redistribution to make our society more equal, a just society, that's what Declan Costello in the long ago and faraway years used to talk about.
Thank you, Deputy.
That's the sort of thing I thought I was joining in Fine Gael. But just aside.
We're over time now. Thank you.
Well, there's so much to say. There's so little time to say it. And the way we do our choreography isn't helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken Corla.